So, hey Aries, my name is Chris, and this is your beautiful reading for whenever you freaking find it in 2026 somewhere. So it's not really time specific, but it is definitely 2026 because 2026 is just such a seismic shift year. Old circles are ending, wrapped up, thank God for that, because the old circle since 2008, respectively since the last 9 years, they have been pretty tempting and challenging, right? There it is, the World card. As I said, it's the old circle and you're leaving something behind that your heart might have been attached to. Could be a relationship, could be a job, could be whatever, could be a friendship, could be something. You really liked that, right? You really wanted that and you kind of built it for yourself and you're leaving it behind. Going to that, actually that is a cycle ending, that's the World card. You're crossing the finish line of the old cycle and you're going towards something new and you have to make a choice. That's really important here. Where do you want to go, right? You can, that's your choice, go back to the old cycle, repeat the old cycle. You can move on from that and pick a new cup. And I would strongly advise you to pick a new cup. Do not repeat the old cycle. The old cycle since 2008, especially Pluto in Capricorn, that was very toxic, right? When you think about it, we were all in this mindset where we kind of doubling down on our efforts and working harder and giving 120% and things like that. And nothing ever worked, right? So we had to run faster and faster all the freaking time just to make ends meet, just to stay where we are. We don't want that. You don't want that. I don't want that, right? Business as usual is kind of over, right? You might have learned something in the old cycle that you can take with you. There's experience, there's practical knowledge, there is maybe you got an education, a degree or something like that. So you take all that with you. But what is coming next is so much more in alignment with, let's just do those, yeah. With joy and happiness, right? And you wanted this. We all wanted this. So the old cycle was pretty toxic, working way too much, overthinking energy. There's a lot of scarcity here in the back. And it's ending, right? It's 2026 is ending. There's the change happening. It doesn't mean that it changes like from one moment to the other, but the overall paradigm for the next 20 years is set, and it's going to be a time where Pluto is in Aquarius, so it's much more about joy and happiness and what makes sense here, right? While you're doing it, not just on paper, but while you're actually doing it. There's the Death card and there's the Nine of Pentacles, the Knight of Wands at the bottom of the deck. So we got a lot of indications for endings and for heavy endings, I might say, right? There's the Death card, there's the World card. A chapter of your life, a chapter of our lives, I would say, is just over. But you know what? If you have been living in difficult situations, right, for a very long time, you kind of grow accustomed to these situations and circumstances. And if they finally fall apart, right, if you finally free yourself from them, you might even kind of miss them, not miss them, but you know, you're so in that funk of running faster and faster and doing more and more, that you not even realized how exhausting that used to be and how much of a good riddance it actually is, right? So the Death card and the World card, the Eight of Cups, the Nine of Swords, trust into the universe, trust into what is coming next. You deserve this, but you have to make a choice. And the choice is between, do I actually want to go back into the old cycle and keep running, keep working too much, keep just believing this story that if I just kill myself trying, I might eventually get somewhere 10 years down the road, maybe, Do you want to continue living like that, where you're always running after an idea how it might eventually be? Or do you wake up to the fact that your life is always happening in the here and now, and only in the here and now you can find happiness? And happiness, not the great job title, not the great achievement, not what looks good on paper or on your gravestone. He was this and that and did and this and that, right? That might be looking very impressive on your gravestone. But you want to live not for your gravestone, not for your CV, not for checking boxes, but you want to live a little more. And that's the big thing here that's coming in the here and now. So make happiness a happy, joyful experience, a daily practice into your life. That's very important. And you got a lot of Pentacles energies here. You wanted this and you deserve it, and now you get the chance to actually do that. But in order to get that blessing, and there is a star card here, so it is a blessing. You get something out of that experience where you kind of neglected yourself, and you're waking up to the fact, hey, you're the blessing, right? You need to be happy in the here and now as well, not just 5 or 10 years down the road when you execute your wonderful plan, right? No, every freaking day you have to carve out space and time for yourself every freaking day to be happy, to be in the here and now, to enjoy your freaking life, because that's your divine birthright and you deserve that. And that old story of running faster, of working harder, of just doing, a second job and this and that, that's a very disempowering story, and we're waking up from the lie of that story, if that makes any sense. And you can get used to a lot of BS in your life, even if it's not good for you. And if it falls apart, you might even miss it in a way, right? You might even, but where's my BS job where I had to do, 12-hour days or whatever, right? 60-hour weeks, right? There was pay. I could afford so many great things, right? I barely used them because I was working all the freaking time. But wasn't that the successful life that we were all kind of promised to have and to like? Didn't I make it, right? Did you? Have you had a decent life? Have you had joy and happiness in your life every day? In that relationship, in that job, in that family constellation, in whatever it is that died here in the last 9 or 10 years, that was very, very toxic for you. But you were so used to it that you're almost missing it now that it has released its grip on you. And this releasing of the grip on you gives you freedom to make a choice. Do I want to continue to live like that in the old circle, like I lived in the old circle last 9 or 10 years, probably since 2008, right? If you're a little older, it's Pluto in Capricorn, 2008, that was the beginning. Pluto is now in Aquarius, complete different frequency. That's why 2026 is so important. And you're making a choice for the next 20 years. How do you want to live? And I'm telling you, you're not losing anything, right? You still got your experience, you still got your degree or education or whatever. You got everything to go forward, but make it the 9 of Pentacles, right? The 9 of Pentacles is this low-hanging fruit card, right? So the grapes are ripe. You only have to pick them. but it's much easier, you know? So if you have a goal for the next chapter of your life, then make sure you're not hanging it that high, right? So make sure your goal is not just 10 years down the road. When I achieve this and that, then I will be happy. But make sure your plans for the future are much more Nine of Pentacles like. You know, you pick the grapes and you have the grapes. You enjoy the grapes, you eat the grapes, you make wine from the grapes. But it's much more direct, right? It's a direct experience. Standing in that garden, that is your life, hopefully, and enjoying that on a daily basis. Not 5 years down the road, not 10 years down the road, when you check this in this box, right? But right here, right now, in the moment, in everyday experience. So back into the hamster wheel where you just run and run and run and faster, faster, faster. Or you freaking slow down, which is the big advice here, to slow the F down, slow down and smell the flowers, right? Make smelling the flowers an everyday experience. Meditation and breathwork is really important to bring you down, to release negativity, to, you know, center you and stabilize you. And then you just, you know, you got a lot of good cards here. You got everything you need. You got the endurance, you already planted your seeds, and there's the Nine of Pentacles. But make sure what you do in the next chapter of your life has an element of really enjoying it every day. That's the message here. And okay, let's do this. There are 3 levels of trust, right? So if you're coming from whatever is happening here in the past, that was pretty heavy, right? So maybe there has been narcissistic abuse in your career area, in your family, in your relationships. If you're coming from narcissistic abuse, then this quote is for you. There are 3 stages of trust. Level 1, you trust people just like that, right? Like a fool. You trust everyone. That's level 1. Not very good. Very naive. You trust you're attracting narcissists left and right. Shady people in business, wherever. If you trust just everybody, if you're just a puppy and say, yeah, let's just do this, right? There are only good people in this world. The bad people will come and take you apart, right? That's just level 1. Level 2 is you're the burned child, so to speak, and you don't trust anybody at all, right? And that's not going to lead you anywhere either. So you need a balance between these extreme positions. First you trust everybody, then you trust nobody. These are extreme positions. Evil is always one-sidedness. Evil is always in the extreme. You bring it down into a balance. You trust people, but not naively. You know that some people are just shady, and you insulate yourself enough so that you know, if this person tries to, trick me or whatever, right? I have these and these options, and I'm not completely naive, so I just know what I'm doing. I calculate the risk, and then I take a calculated risk in trusting people, but it's calculated. It's not naive, right? So bring that as a lesson from the old cycle, how trust works. And this is for all the people who had to deal with a lot of narcissistic and toxic and antagonistic creatures, people. The truth is way more depressing. They are not even smart enough to be as evil as we give them credit for. For someone out there, right? And then just be yourself a friend and Don't trust just anybody. Make calculated risks in trusting people, but be aware that it is a risk and what options you got if something happens indeed. And then enjoy life wherever you can on a daily basis. And what else we got? There's this quote of, let's take this. Frequency is the new currency. Make sure you feel good on a daily basis. And I don't think there was room for that in whatever we're coming from, right? Or very little room for that, for feeling good on a daily basis. And you got bottom of the deck, the Knight of Wands. That's a Knight of Fire. That's playfulness, right? Just playfulness. Beautiful. Sananda, that's mastery. And what else we got? Lay a solid foundation and attend to the small things, to the everyday things. And the foundation for everything that is coming is the present moment. That's very important. You cultivate that through meditation, through breath work. And that's your mastery. And that's all I got. And I hope it resonates with you. Share, like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about it. And hopefully see you next time. Now, Bedaya. Ciao.